Jay's show was titled Trend Synthesis, right? And what we're seeing now is not just a crystal look or a metal look or a garden look, but we're seeing these looks combined. And that's what you'll see a little bit of today as well. So if a bride comes into you and says, I want iris, I want it with crystal, I want it with some burlap, I want it with, some bling, you're going to hear that. And we have to be a little bit prepared for that. So some of the design styles you see today, I think you're going to see that as well. Before we get started, just a couple of things that I've kind of learned recently I'd like to share with you. One of them is about spray rose. This is a white Mikado spray rose. You might be familiar with the variety called red Mikado. And this variety here is called Classic Lydia, beautiful pink spray rose. Some of you might be saying, wow, look at how many heads are in that bunch, right? And I've talked about this before, but it's always important. We can buy by price, and by price, a 40-centimeter spray rose is the best, most affordable price. It's got the same 10 stems, but because of the length and the growing time for that rose, there might be only 2 or 3 heads on a stem, right? Well, with a 60-centimeter, it takes much longer to mature and reach full length. So you get 4, 5, sometimes 6 or more heads per stem. Plus, on top of the fully developed heads, we have the buds as well, right? Which we're using in today's design, so it's a really great value. So when you're asking for flowers for your weddings, or for prom or for corsages, you might want to ask. And for those of you who do like base work and things like that, one thing to keep in mind is a 40-centimeter spray rose might not really work well in a vase because it's so small and let's face it, kind of skimpy. But even if you're doing something in a large traditional glass vase with this 60-centimeter stem, you could just use that as a single flower pot. It's almost as large as, say, a Fuji chrysanthemum. That's a pretty good size value. So maybe it's $1.35 or $1.40 cost. It's comparable to a lily, so you get a lot of value there. This one here goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 developed heads, and then buds on top. So that's the difference. So when you're talking to your salesperson, make sure if you want something like this, maybe you're going to use it in a vase arrangement or something like that, that you ask for a 60-centimeter spray rose and not just any spray rose. This is a new type of it's not a new type of rose, because this rose has been around for a long time. But what you'll see is it's kind of like a spray rose, and then it's a single rose. It's not been disbudded, right? So what happens is, as a plant grows, whether it's a mini carnation or a chrysanthemum or a spray rose or an alstroemeria, sometimes what we do is we disbud. We take these leaders off. Well, this grower has grown these roses without disbud. So you not only get this beautiful pink rose, but you get the 2 buds with it. So if you're doing a wedding style and it's supposed to be a little bit more wild or country looking or a garden rose type of look, you'll want this disbudded rose. Now one disappointing thing is they don't grow this in mass production. So all I can buy is an assorted box. So if you just want 1 bunch, I can probably help you out. If you need 10 bunches of this pink, we can't do that. So it really is something that you would want to use only for the bride's piece or 1 or 2 attendance pieces, that sort of thing, or for a smaller project. Unless you have that wide variety to use oranges and yellows and whites and things, it doesn't always work for that. But that's something a little bit new and different. Maybe for that, it's just a non-disbudded rose. And it's from Royal Flowers. And one of the things, I tend to travel around a lot. For those who don't know me, I'm Vice President for Nordlie. So I went to our Dayton show recently, and they had a new designer there sponsored by Smithers Oasis, just like Jay was here for our show during the week. And her name was, Sandra. I don't remember her last name, but I will look it up. And she did these collars for bouquets. I'm thinking, you know, in today's life, a lot of times it's all about dollar amounts, right? They must spend a lot of money. And the nice thing about these finished collars was you could just do a few flowers and make it look very complete. There's like 2 mini gerbils, 1 rose, 2 spray roses, 1 lily, and like half a hydrangea and a couple of mini cards. That's all that's in there. What I did was I took some of that, the new raw muslin from Miller's Oasis, and before I left, because I did the show in Traverse City, I asked Kim to cut out 3 circles out of foam core for me, right? And I think next time, and this is my fault, not Kim's, I would have asked her to make it a little bit larger so that it would almost be like a tray underneath the bouquet so I could get a little more impact. And I just wrapped that circle of foam core with the muslin and then slipped it over the back. And then to hold it in place, I just took the hyacinth stake, I cut it, and then wedged it underneath and hold it. I did this one, I took the peach muslin, raw muslin, wrapped it underneath again. And so when you're looking at it, like for instance when Tom videotapes this and puts it up on the website, as you get in really close, the detail on it will really show up. But again, just a few flowers. I use a little bit of Queen Anne's lace. I use 1 stem of Ulstramarian. I use 1 rose. We had a new flower we introduced at the show on Wednesday. It's not real new, it's been around a little bit, but it's called spray stock. Okay, normally we get stock or Madiola from California, and it's 10 stems in a bunch, and there's just 1 head on a stem, right? Similar to a snapdragon. Well, out of Colombia now, we're growing spray stock, which means there's like 3 or 4 or 5 heads on a spray, just like Ulstramarian. There's only 5 stems in a bunch, not 10. And the heads aren't as big, because this is a full head here. There's like 2 of them. A little bit smaller. But if you're doing very intricate or detailed work, it does serve the purpose really well. So I use a little bit of that spray stock, a couple of Gerbers, and then just finish it off with a green Hyperion. But you can see if you have that value-oriented bride and you want to work with them and use just a few flowers to keep the cost down, you can still do something that's somewhat of a signature look for you. All the time people ask me about doing wedding work and when you can make it up, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I wasn't planning on getting snowed in at West Branch, so the flowers were in a bucket in my car since Thursday. Friday, I actually made these bouquets, and they've been in the trunk of my car since Friday. So they do hold up. You know, you can make flowers last if you get them fresh. You know, and one thing we need to keep in mind, well, I don't know why we do this. Maybe I do, because years ago we used to grow a rose that was called Samantha. Does anybody remember the variety of red rose Samantha? Okay? And to tell if a Samantha rose was fresh or not, we used to squeeze it, like squeezing the Charmin, right? Well, we still do that. And I tell people, why are you doing that? Well, I want to see if it's fresh. But roses today don't grow the way they used to. The yellow rose today, it doesn't have a hard bit. It shouldn't. So while you're squeezing it, all we're doing is damaging, you know. And a lot of times we look at something, what's this, you know, you fluff it off. It's like, Mr. Nordlie always had a saying. He would say, you might not see it today, Tom. You might not see it tomorrow. But in 3 days, they'll be bruising where you touched it. So when you're working with your flowers, and I've used these flowers, they've been literally in the trunk of my car since Thursday, but they still held up beautifully, right? I took the silver gray satin, red double face satin, and used that as my collar. I took one of these succulents, isn't that beautiful? And I just tucked it in there, because everybody loves a succulent, right? I didn't know this, I found out last week. Succulents are a sign of wealth and prosperity. I guess so, because they cost like $5. So, I mean, really, not just anybody can use a succulent, right? But I only use 1. I use 1 spray rose. I use 2 roses, and these are both Rosa Prima roses. I use a little bit of purple Lysianthus, some lavender freesia, and those beautiful hot chocolate mini callus in the center. Gorgeous. Just a nice little, maybe for an older bride or bridesmaid, something very simple yet elegant. And you can even use this, incorporate, you see how they sit very nicely in the top of a 999 vase? What if you went and grabbed a piece of very nice peach fabric, just cover covered that and added a bow, and then you could use them as centerpieces afterwards, right? So you pay $1.50 for the base, maybe 50 cents for a piece of fabric, and you're all set. You got a great centerpiece with that little bouquet. When I was doing the succulents in the past, we always used to use a wood pick. You take a common wood pick or something. Now I suggest if you're going to do it, maybe go to a food store and buy a shish kebab stick, because they're a little bit easier to work with, a little more pointy. The new, I call it common pick, it's like Oasis foam, right? It's like our Kleenex tissue becomes a name brand. Unfortunately though, Cowie doesn't make picks anymore. So what you see is very brittle picks. They're not made from the same wood. So if you go to stick that in the bottom of a succulent and skewer it, it might break off on you. And then you stab yourself with a million splinters. So what I found, and I don't know, just one of those dumb things by accident, I used the mega wire from Smear's Oasis and just cut like a little 2-inch piece. And with that point from the mega wire, it slipped right into the bottom of the succulent. I put it into the Oasis foam, and it held really well. So I'm going to suggest to you, if you're having issues about using succulents because you can't anchor them in your arrangements, that might be a good way to start. I took these new containers from Hill's Import, and they're made out of recycled rubber, okay? Very inexpensive. I think this one here runs $1.40. But what a great look. It almost looks like a galvanized metal finish, right? With just one stem of everything, not even a full stem of the lily. A spray rose, an orange rose. That's that new, it's called Santana. Have you seen it? It's the newest variety of orange rose that's out there. It's a little hard to get still, but we have lots on standing order. It's a deep burnt orange, very strong color. So if you're looking for a really nice contrast to use your peaches and your oranges and then a dark orange, Santana. If you're a big musician, you might know Carlos Santana. Don't you remember the name of that rose, right? And then this one here, I took another one. See how those succulents work really well in a container like this? This one's a square container, but it's got this tray effect on the outside. It's hollow in the center. And then I used one of the pincushion tortilla, 2 Gerbers, one of this new variety of carnation, a peach hypericum, and an orange spray rose in there. Just real simple, but very nice. So what you could do is maybe add 2 or 3 elements like this on a table to decorate. Well, this one didn't quite make it so well in the trunk of my car because my green anthurium, which you know anthuriums are very cold sensitive, it turned on. So what I did was when I got here today, I thought, well, if I just go get an artificial one, right? I'll go get a permanent botanical, and I'll cut one. And I'll just add it, just as I have natural. So we'll just finish it off like that. Okay? Very simple. And I like these containers because with their inexpensive price, with just a few flowers, you're able to add to a table. It's the old, how do you say, it's a sales technique where when somebody comes in and says, I really love that arrangement, isn't it beautiful? What do you think of those mason jars, those bumpy, knobby mason jars? Well, those are really nice too. Well, we should add that. And then what do you think about these little pieces over here? Should we add that too? And just let the bride develop her little and add to the budget, right? There's a small retailer in Denver, Michigan called Garages. And John Garage is an excellent designer and so much of a visionary when it comes to developing a look or an idea for weddings. And when he sets up his bridal tables for a consultation, he has everything. Linens, chairs, silverware, charger plates, everything you could imagine. And then you work from there, and the bride says, well, this is my budget. Well, once you start pulling things away, then brides are like, well, wait, I like that. Well, we can leave it there, but I know you're at $100 a table, now we'd have to be at $150. Well, I guess that's okay, because I really like it. Rather than start with something simple and add to it, he gets everything out there and then lets the bride whittle it down to just what she